Anika Sharma was glowing in her red bridal lehenga. Priya Malhotra stood beside her adjusting the final details, and Arjun Mehta watched quietly from the crowded courtyard. But before the wedding fire could be lit and vows could be taken, one of them had already decided that this celebration would end in death. The morning of Anika Sharma's wedding began before sunrise. The winter air in Jaipur was cool, and a soft golden light slowly touched the pink walls of the Heritage Hotel where the ceremony was to take place. Inside the grand courtyard, workers adjusted marigold garlands and polished brass lamps. The scent of fresh flowers mixed with incense, creating a calm and sacred atmosphere. It was the kind of setting most brides dream about for years. Anika had always imagined a traditional wedding surrounded by family, music, and laughter. At 26, she was known for her gentle nature and quiet confidence. She worked as a schoolteacher and believed in simple joys. Her parents often described her as the heart of the family. That morning, she sat patiently as makeup artists prepared her for the ceremony. Her red bridal lehenga shimmered under the soft lights, and delicate gold jewelry rested carefully around her neck and wrists. Guests began arriving early, filling the hotel with cheerful noise. Relatives exchanged greetings, children ran across the marble floors, and photographers moved around capturing every detail. Social media posts quickly labeled the celebration as one of the most beautiful weddings of the season. Everything appeared perfectly organized. Much of that credit went to Priya Malhotra, Anika's childhood best friend. Priya had managed the decorations, coordinated vendors, and ensured every ritual was arranged according to tradition. She stayed close to Anika throughout the morning, supervising schedules and calming last-minute concerns. Their friendship seemed unbreakable, built on years of trust and shared memories. From the outside, the day felt magical and full of promise. No one could sense that beneath the joy and celebration, a carefully hidden plan was already in motion. One that would transform this perfect morning into a tragedy before the sun had fully set. As the afternoon rituals approached, excitement filled the hotel corridors. Musicians prepared their instruments near the courtyard, and relatives gathered for photographs before the main ceremony. Inside her private bridal suite, Anika was completing the final steps of her preparation. The heavy jewelry and embroidered lehenga made it difficult to move, but she appeared calm and composed. A traditional glass of warm almond milk had been placed on a small silver tray beside her mirror, part of a custom meant to give strength before the ceremony. A few minutes later, Anika began to feel uneasy. At first, it seemed like simple nervousness. Weddings often bring overwhelming emotions, and everyone assumed it was normal. However, her discomfort quickly turned into visible weakness. She struggled to remain standing and eventually collapsed onto the polished floor of the suite. Panic spread instantly. Family members rushed inside, calling for help. The hotel staff contacted emergency services while guests outside remained unaware of the growing crisis. The music stopped. Decorations that once symbolized celebration now stood in silence. Paramedics arrived swiftly and attempted to revive her. Despite their efforts, Anika showed no response. She was declared dead before she could be transported to the hospital. The news shattered the atmosphere. What had been laughter only moments earlier became cries of disbelief. Police were notified immediately. Officers sealed the bridal suite and began restricting movement in and out of the venue. The almond milk glass remained untouched on the table, now considered potential evidence. Doctors conducting a preliminary examination noted no visible injuries or signs of struggle. The sudden and unexplained nature of her death raised a chilling possibility. This was not a medical emergency caused by stress. Something far more deliberate had occurred inside that quiet bridal room. Within hours of Anika's death, the wedding venue transformed into an active investigation site. Police officers moved through hallways once filled with celebration, now marked by silence and shock. Guests were questioned individually, and hotel staff were instructed to provide detailed timelines of their movements. Every person who had access to the bridal suite became a potential lead. Security camera footage became the focus of early investigation. Cameras installed along the corridor outside the bridal suite showed limited activity during the critical period. Only a small number of people were seen entering the room that afternoon. Among them were Anika's mother, a makeup assistant, and Priya. Each visit appeared routine, with no visible signs of tension or urgency. Priya was observed carrying a decorated tray, consistent with her role in managing wedding rituals. Forensic experts began examining items from the suite. The glass containing almond milk was sent for laboratory testing, along with cosmetic products, utensils, and personal belongings. Early results pointed toward the presence of a fast-acting toxic substance. The poison had no strong odor or taste, suggesting careful selection and planning. As investigators reviewed Anika's personal life, they found no signs of conflict or enemies. She had no known disputes, no financial troubles, and no personal rivalries. This narrowed suspicion toward someone within her closest circle. Attention slowly shifted toward Priya. Her long stay inside the suite raised questions. Investigators reviewed her recent activities and financial records. They discovered that her event planning business had collapsed months earlier, leaving her under significant debt. Bank statements revealed repeated loans taken from Anika, some of which had not been repaid. Investigators also uncovered unusual digital activity linked to Priya, including online searches related to toxic substances and delivery methods. As the forensic investigation continued, the details became more precise and disturbing. Laboratory reports confirmed that the substance found in the almond milk was a rare synthetic toxin, one that required deliberate effort to obtain. It was not something available in local markets or common pharmacies. Investigators traced its purchase to an online supplier that specialized in industrial chemicals. The order had been placed 3 weeks before the wedding using business credentials connected to Priya's event company. Digital records revealed that the chemical had been delivered to a rented storage unit registered under a shortened version of Priya's name. Surveillance footage from that facility showed her entering the unit several days before the wedding and leaving with a small sealed package. This discovery strengthened the suspicion that the poisoning had been planned well in advance. Police also reconstructed the timeline inside the bridal suite. Hotel staff confirmed that Priya had personally insisted on overseeing refreshments for Anika. She had declined assistance from catering workers and chose to carry the ceremonial almond milk herself. Her extended stay in the suite, combined with the delivery of the drink, aligned with the moment investigators believed the toxin was introduced. Financial records uncovered another troubling detail. Anika had recently invested money into a small expansion plan for Priya's struggling business. Legal documents showed that in case of Anika's death before the wedding, certain refundable deposits and partnership funds would revert partially to Priya. While the amount was not enormous, it was enough to ease her growing debt. Investigators concluded that jealousy alone did not explain the crime. The evidence pointed toward desperation mixed with resentment. Priya appeared to fear losing both emotional support and financial stability once Anika married and moved away. 3 weeks after the wedding tragedy, police announced the arrest of Priya Malhotra. The news spread rapidly across television channels and social media platforms. Images of the smiling best friend who once stood proudly beside the bride were now displayed next to headlines describing betrayal and calculated murder. The contrast shocked the nation. Investigators presented a detailed chain of evidence. Forensic experts confirmed that the toxin found in Anika's body matched the chemical purchased through Priya's business account. Digital records placed her at the storage unit where the substance had been kept. Security footage from the hotel showed that no one else had direct contact with the ceremonial drink before it reached Anika. The timeline left little room for doubt. During the trial, prosecutors argued that the crime was premeditated. They described how the chemical had been acquired weeks in advance and how Priya had taken control of the bridal suite refreshments on the wedding day. Financial documents were presented to demonstrate her growing debt and her potential gain from refundable wedding investments. Though the monetary benefit was not vast, it revealed motive combined with resentment. The courtroom remained silent as experts explained how even a slight increase in dosage could turn the toxin from temporarily disabling to instantly fatal. Investigators believed Priya underestimated the strength of the substance, leading to Anika's sudden collapse. The judge ultimately found her guilty of murder. The sentence reflected the seriousness of the crime and the breach of trust it represented. Anika's family sat through the verdict in visible grief, struggling to understand how years of friendship had ended in tragedy. The wedding venue eventually reopened for other celebrations, but for those who remembered that day, the decorations and music could never erase the memory of a bride whose life ended just moments before her vows. Months after the court delivered its verdict, the case appeared closed. Priya was serving her sentence, and the public had begun to move on to other headlines. However, a routine internal review by the investigative team reopened unanswered questions. One officer, assigned to archive digital evidence, noticed irregularities in the hotel surveillance timeline that had not been fully explored during the trial. Footage from a service corridor near the catering area showed brief activity shortly before Priya carried the almond milk to the bridal suite. A man wearing formal wedding attire was seen entering a restricted preparation space for less than 2 minutes. His presence had been dismissed earlier as harmless movement during a busy event. A closer frame analysis identified him as Arjun Mehta, a distant cousin of the groom. Arjun had not drawn suspicion initially. He had cooperated with questioning and left the venue shortly after the chaos began. But financial background checks now revealed significant gambling debts accumulated over the past year. Bank statements showed large withdrawals and unpaid loans. More concerning was the discovery of multiple phone calls exchanged between Arjun and Priya in the weeks leading up to the wedding. Digital forensic specialists re-examined the chemical purchase logs. One of the transaction confirmations had been processed from an IP address registered to an apartment in Delhi. Property records connected that apartment to Arjun, while the purchase remained under Priya's business name. The technical link suggested outside involvement. Investigators began to suspect that the original narrative might have been incomplete. If Priya had acquired the toxin, someone else may have influenced the plan or altered the dosage. The possibility of a second participant introduced new uncertainty into what was believed to be a straightforward case. As investigators reopened the case, they focused on the growing connection between Priya and Arjun Mehta. Phone records revealed over 40 calls exchanged between them in the month before the wedding. Many of these calls lasted several minutes and often occurred late at night. This pattern contradicted earlier statements that their contact had been casual and limited to wedding coordination. Financial analysis uncovered another critical detail. Just days after the chemical purchase was completed, a small transfer of money had moved from Arjun's account into one of Priya's lesser-used business accounts. The amount was not large enough to attract immediate attention, but it suggested coordination. Investigators also found encrypted messages on a cloud backup linked to Priya's laptop. Though partially deleted, fragments of data indicated discussions about insurance clauses, refund conditions, and timing. When Arjun was questioned again, inconsistencies began to surface. Travel records showed he had visited Jaipur a week before the wedding, despite claiming he arrived only 2 days prior. Surveillance from the rented storage facility also revealed a blurred figure accompanying Priya during one visit. Body posture and height measurements closely matched Arjun. Forensic experts re-examined the toxin dosage calculations. Their updated analysis suggested the lethal quantity was unlikely to have been accidental. The mixture appeared deliberately adjusted beyond the level that would cause temporary illness. This raised the possibility that someone with technical knowledge or intent had ensured the outcome would be fatal. Gradually, investigators concluded that Priya may not have acted alone. Evidence pointed toward Arjun influencing the plan, possibly manipulating her desperation for his own financial gain. The narrative shifted from a single act of betrayal to a coordinated scheme driven by greed. The final phase of the reopened investigation brought the case back to court. Prosecutors presented the newly uncovered digital records, financial transfers, and surveillance analysis linking Arjun Mehta to the planning of the crime. The evidence suggested that he had exploited Priya's financial distress and emotional instability, guiding her involvement while carefully positioning himself in the background. What once seemed like her independent decision now appeared shaped by manipulation and shared intent. During the proceedings, forensic experts explained how the toxin dosage had been deliberately increased beyond a non-lethal level. Data recovered from cloud backups demonstrated research not only about poisons, but also about inheritance laws and post-marriage asset transfers. Investigators argued that Arjun understood the financial ripple effect Anika's death would create within extended family investments. While the gains were indirect, they were significant enough for someone buried in gambling debt. The court ultimately ruled that Arjun had acted as the mastermind behind the murder, orchestrating the logistics while allowing suspicion to fall primarily on Priya. She was convicted as an accomplice, with the judge acknowledging that her participation was voluntary but influenced by deception and pressure. Both received lengthy prison sentences. For Anika's family, the second verdict offered clarity but not peace. The wedding photographs that once symbolized hope became reminders of loss. The Heritage Hotel returned to hosting celebrations, yet those who remembered the tragedy could never see it the same way. The case left a lasting message about trust and hidden motives. It showed how financial desperation, jealousy, and greed can quietly grow beneath close relationships. What began as a day of sacred vows ended as a cautionary tale. Proof that sometimes the greatest danger hides behind familiar faces and carefully rehearsed smiles.